Thank you very much. So let's get started. So today is number 11 of our AI in Action webinar series, where we take a practical approach to show local businesses how some local businesses are currently using AI, or how you should be using AI within your business. So today's objective, so the title is Stop Guessing, Find Out Where AI Will Pay Off in Your Business. And what we're looking to do is to provide you with some simple tools to find opportunities and prioritize them where AI and automation can save you time and money. So today it's me presenting. I'm the founder of Blue Llama, and then we've got Anish, who's our AI and automation lead. He'll be taking you through sort of the nitty-gritty stuff. So first of all, a bit of housekeeping. So we are recording this session. So if you don't want your video, you don't want to be recorded, then do turn your video off. And yeah, it will be sent to you by email, the recording, and also published on our website as well. Please also keep your audio off for the time being. Put any questions that you have in the chat, and then at the end of the presentation, we'll have sort of 20 minutes or so to take questions. Brilliant. Okay, let's get started. So what you will leave with today. So there's basically 3 different flavors of automation, and I'll be walking you through what they mean. So there's traditional automation, AI automation, and agentic AI, and the different sort of paces that each of those fit to. Then we'll be looking at something called RIPE, which is our simple framework for identifying processes in your business where AI and automation could bring you value. And Anish will talk you through what RIPE means. Then we'll be looking at TRIM. So TRIM is taking those opportunities that I've identified in RIPE and then trimming them down so that you can filter out the most lucrative ones. And then we'll be looking at the real Jersey numbers behind it. So we've done a workshop back in, I think it was May, where we did this kind of a 3-hour workshop looking at this exact methodology. And Anish will walk you through some of the results that we got through in that workshop in May. And at the end of the presentation, we will be inviting you guys for a workshop online this time in September. So do stay tuned for that. Okay, so quick introduction for you who those listening that don't know who Blue Llama are. So we are Jersey's AI-powered operations partner. And basically what we mean by that is that we can scale your business without increasing your headcount. So we're handing over that low-value work to AI, so your people are freed up to concentrate on higher value work. And we do that. There's 3 main products that we have. So there's Discover, Deliver, and Delegate. Discover is where you don't know where to start. So it's looking at the opportunities in your business, kind of what we're doing today, but we go a bit deeper into your business and uncover, prioritize, and then map out and cost those opportunities so that you have like a roadmap in front of you to identify where you go, where you start, and where you go next. If you have a particular project in mind, so you might already identified that onboarding is a really slow, nasty, time-intensive process within your business, we can then come in, interview people, map out and build that solution. And we tend to use the Microsoft stack because for auditing and security needs, especially within regulated businesses, it's really strong in that side. And then Delegate is where you don't have anyone internally within your team who's responsible for AI, so we can become your outsourced AI team. So we build out the roadmap of opportunities. We can provide custom training to enable your team to better use AI in their specific roles. And then we can do the checks, the assurance work to make sure that the AI you use is compliant within your policies. Okay, enough about Blue Llama. There is a QR code there if you want to scan it, or go to our website, bluellama.co.uk, to find out more. So the main question that we get asked about AI is, what AI tools should we be using within our business? It's a valid question. There's people often ask us about Copilot licenses. Should they empower everyone with Copilot? Is Claude better than Copilot, than ChatGPT? There's a new CRM that's come out or something which within their business, which is AI powered, or a new AI compliance tool or something. But we think that's the wrong first question to be asking. So we think the best question you can ask to begin your AI journey is, where are we leaking time and what is it costing us? And if you know the answer to that, then you can determine what solutions are needed and work on those. So a little bit of background first. So there are three flavors of automation. You've got, first of all, your traditional automation. So using tools like Power Automate, Zapier, Make.com. Used to be called robotic process automation, RPA. And this is kind of applying logic. So you define every single step and you define it in real detail, and then the automation goes down that route. So it's linking your systems together, but it's very rigid. Then you've got AI automation, or automation plus AI, which is using the same tools. So still using, we tend to use Power Automate, but linking in LLM, so linking in large language models so that they can do the thinking between the steps. So it could be taking some a document, unstructured data in a document, and extracting from that structured data, like we've done for leases, for example. It can read through a lease document and extract 10 bits of essential information and then put them into a database. It could be an email. So an email comes in, you need to understand what that email is about, what's the context, and then categorize that email accordingly to then do an email triage. And then you've got agentic AI. So this is kind of the new school of AI. So this is a slightly different tools. What we're thinking here is the likes of Claude, ChatGPT, and Gemini, the latest versions of those. So you probably noticed a year ago when you were using these tools, it would just come back with an answer. But now it goes through this thinking, this reasoning process to determine what is the best way to answer the question that you've asked. So with this, if you describe the outcome that you want and you provide it with all the context and the intelligence that it needs, then AI can work out the steps. So when I mean that, I mean like the details about your business, who you are, what you sell, where you operate, and then give it access to your CRM, your accounting software, any brochures that you have, your org chart, your meeting descriptions, all your files on your network. If you can do that, then you don't really need to do detailed prompting because it's got all the background information, and you can ask it for what you want and it will go away, find a solution and deliver that solution. Not always 100%, and that's the problem. So if we look at this analogy, so we've got this robot here who's doing the dishes. So traditional automation, this robot would be trained on cleaning plates. It would get a plate each time, it would clean it perfectly, it would do it super fast. If you gave it a mug, it would fail. It would need another robot to clean the mug. With AI automation, the robot will be able to analyze what needs to be washed and determine, this is a plate. I know how to wash a plate. I'll go through these set of instructions. Oh, this one's a mug. I've got instructions for cleaning the mug. I'll clean it. And it would do that perfectly. But it would take a little bit more time, but it should do it. If a teaspoon came along, it didn't have the instructions for that, it may fail. With agentic AI, you're not asking the robot to clean plates or to determine stuff. You're just telling it, keep my kitchen clean. And it should do a good job if you supplied it with all the information. This is the hot tap, this is the cold tap, this is where the plates go, these are the different types of cutlery I have. If you provided all that information, it should do the work. Might not do it always consistently though. It might sometimes put the plate in the wrong location. It might think it's a mug when it's actually a teacup. So you've got to be careful and you've got to have guardrails around it. Okay, so which one of those three different flavors fit different jobs? So first of all, if we look at traditional automation, this is best for high volume, identical rule-based tasks. It's really, really fast and it's really predictable. It does it really quickly and it gets the result right every time. But if there's anything that's unexpected, then it'll break, it'll stop. It won't know what to do. So you give it the exact steps and are really precise about what you want it to do. With AI automation, the process is fixed, but you can allow messy inputs. So yeah, it could be, we'll talk about in the next thing, it could be a passport. You get different types of passport, but it'll be able to understand what a passport is and extract the right information from that. It's pretty fast. It still needs to do a little bit of thinking, and it's reliable within the steps that you've given it. But it can handle some expectations, but within limits. And what you give it is you give it the steps and you allow it to have some sort of judgment. Agentic AI is slightly different, so it's best for varied tasks. It's very judgment heavy and good at multi-step work. It's quite slow though, because it's having to do a lot of thinking, and it's heavier in terms of token usage. Its predictability varies because you're giving it so much control. It can go off piece a little bit, as we all know with AI. So you need to have guardrails in place to make sure that you're QAing and everything's done correctly. But you can improve by improving the information you give it. You can also improve the quality. And handling the unexpected, yeah, absolutely. It can adapt and it can think through. Might not always get it right, but it will give it a good go. So you give it, as I said before, you give it an outcome and the background information, and then you let it go. So the thing here, the balance here is between flexibility and predictability. So automation is going to do stuff fast, and it's going to do stuff correctly. Agentic AI on the other side of the scale is super flexible, but you've got to have these guardrails in there because it might not be coming out with consistent results. Okay, so just working through those three different flavors of AI, we'll just go through some specific examples. So with automation, you could do a bank reconciliation. So if you notice that the legend at the bottom here, there's no AI steps in here. A bank statement arrives in maybe a CSV file. It's imported. They're matched against the references. There has to be exact matches between the references. The matched ones are posted, and then any exceptions are flagged. So you need a human there to look at the exceptions. With AI automation, say an example of KYC extraction, so you upload a passport. Again, what I said before, it can identify a passport to passport. It doesn't matter if it's like Botswana or if it's a Jersey passport, it kind of understands the idea of a passport. So it can read it and extract the information that you need from that passport. And then it goes back to automation to populate the details of that in whatever system you want, and then a human reviews. Agentic automation is slightly different. So an example of a board pack preparation, maybe it's triggered sort of 10 days before the board meeting is going to happen. You've provided all the background information to your file systems, to your meeting transcripts, to your minutes, to your financial system. So it's got all of that. It's maybe even got examples of board packs that you've created in the past. It's maybe got a template. But it uses all that information as best as it can to generate a board pack, and then that draft is ready for a human to review. Okay, so hopefully that gives you a bit of an understanding of possible avenues to explore in automating processes. Now I'm going to hand you over to Anish, who's going to walk you through our approach to finding the best opportunities for automation in your business. Anish.
Great. Thanks, Phil. Yeah, really great stuff, and super insightful and useful. And I hope that kind of gives context of what is possible with the three flavors of automation, AI automation, and agentic AI. I'm going to dive into our approach to helping businesses think through how to find the right opportunities for AI. And how to quantify the value in their organization. So I'll share my screen, Phil, and then it'll be easier to present. Great. So when it comes to our approach and deciphering which solution that Phil shared with the three flavors is the right direction, we take a step back and have a three kind of prong approach to supporting businesses. So the first one is to spot. So when it comes to spotting, we're looking towards understanding the business, understanding the processes, and understanding which of those processes is essentially ripe for AI automation. So we don't look at which of the automations or the AIs that Phil mentioned is the right one. We first try to assess which is the right opportunity for a business to embed AI into the process. Once we've kind of identified a good candidate, we then look at quantifying. So we look at selecting which of the 10 opportunities that we've identified, how can we trim this further down to the top 3 based on its quantifiable impact on the business. And then finally, once we've got those 3 that have the greatest impact on an organization in terms of ROI or margin, we then look into solving or building and embedding this particular solution into the business. So what Phil mentioned around the 3 flavors automation is probably where we start to think about which of those 3 is the best solution for those processes. So that's just why we asked the question initially, where is the biggest time cost or the biggest time drain, rather than which AI should we be using. So what I'm going to focus on in this particular session is the spot and select, and walk you through a very high level overview of how we support in the build and the embedding. So when we're looking at identifying the right candidates, if you like, for AI and automation, we use an acronym called RIPE. So some of you might have come across it in a webinar we did almost a year ago. So we're kind of bringing it back and bringing it together as a whole approach for RIPE, trim, and solution design. So when it comes to RIPE, we look at 4 key factors. The first is around how repetitive the process is. So is it something that is high volume, and is it frequent? The second is for irritation, or is it irritating? So what we understand is sometimes there are processes that can be a real headache for staff, but it still needs to be done. So is it not only a time drain, but does it kind of annoy or irritate staff members that, okay, I know I need to update the spreadsheet and it's going to take me about an hour to 2 hours a week, but it needs to be done. But it's something that they really wouldn't want to do, but they know that needs to be done. And it's not a great use of their time and value in the business. And then the third is predictable. So this is typically where automation it really places itself as high value when looking at processes that is rule-based and has low deviation. And if it's something that's highly repetitive and predictable, something like AI and automation would be a good fit. If it's something that's ad hoc and not predictable, but still it takes a lot of time and it's a bit irritating, agentic AI might be a better fit for that. And then the final one that we look at when it comes to highly complex, predictable, and repetitive processes, is it something that is entry friendly? So when we say entry friendly, we're looking at the wider stack in the business, or the technology stack in the business, and looking at, is it something that can easily, a solution can be easily fitted in. So when it comes to AI and automation, and the wider stack is, let's say, the Microsoft tools, so typically we build in the Power Platform. So is your process including things like Outlook, SharePoint, spreadsheets? That would be very entry friendly, compared to something that has a legacy system that hasn't been updated for 20 years, but it's something that is still very much critical through the process. We will see that as kind of low in terms of entry friendly, where there will be a lot more work to be done in terms of integrating the automation with it. So what we do is we look at these 4 factors and rank them on a scale. So here is just some examples for you to think about when looking at your own processes of assessing, would this fit, how you would score it across the RIPE framework. So something repetitive on a low scale will be a year-end audit prep once a year. And again, because it's low on the scale, doesn't mean it cannot be built with AI or automation. It would be maybe something, as Phil mentioned, could be done with agentic AI, something like with Copilot or with Claude or with ChatGPT. But where we're looking at more from the process perspective, something more repetitive, would be something like invoice classification, that it's something that has to be done 50 to 100 times a day. Irritating, so something low would be strategic client workshops, so it's a valuable human discussion, while something high would be rekeying data from PDFs into an Excel. Predictable, so something low on the scale would be complex contract disputes. So, each case will have its differing aspects to it, or many different nuances. So it's not predictable. Again, agentic AI could be a good value for that, while something much more around AI and automation would need some predictability within it. So something like, I don't know, booking a reminder 24 hours before, same each time. And entry friendly, as I mentioned, custom legacy systems with no APIs would score low compared to Outlook or SharePoint within the Microsoft ecosystem. So this is some examples for you to consider when trying to score opportunities in your organization if they're good candidates for AI and automation. Before diving into quantifying the value, I want to share with you how we would walk through this exercise with an organization. So we would draft up a whiteboard, and this could be done online or in person, and they would have access to this. The right scoring card will look a little bit like this, where you would score your candidates. So we would ask the organization to jot down all of their potential candidates that they would see as potential opportunities for AI and automation, and then we would walk them through scoring it on RIPE. So here's an example where you can see engagement letters for this particular organization scores very high across the board. So on a scale of 1 to 5, you can see it scores high and 5 on repetitive, irritating, predictable, and entry friendly. It scores 19 overall. Whilst client boarding is also quite high, but it's not as predictable. Compared to approval minutes, where it's not that irritating and it's also not that entry friendly, but it's still extremely repetitive. So it doesn't mean it's the be and end all. If it does, it still scores quite low, but it's a good way to get a temperature check on which ones we should be looking at when it comes to the RIPE framework. Great. So before jumping in to the next bit, I will just go here. So now that, let's say, we have gone through spotting the right candidates for implementing AI and automation within specific processes, we then go into the next stage, which is selecting them. So here we would use our trim framework to quantify the value within the business. And it's quite interesting because when we work with organizations, what they would see rank quite high on RIPE actually can be quite low in value in terms of ROI or margin for the business. So when it comes to using the trim framework, again, similar to RIPE, it has 4 key factors. So the 4 factors that we look at is first, for T, it's time drain. So here we're actually quantifying the hours the team takes to do this particular process per week. So here it really gives us a higher indication or a better indication of its impact in terms of a process in a quantifiable way. Then we look at risk exposure. So this is trying to understand what could potentially go wrong if the system or the process stays the same. So is this a compliance, a process that has a high level of compliance? If there is errors, can this impact reputation? Could this impact customer churn? So what is that level of risk here? The next question we ask is, what's its impact on scale? So if nothing changes, is this impacting the ability for the organization to grow? Does this impact growth? And then the final one is money. So here we look at the difference here between time drain and, let's say, money is not only are we looking at the labor cost, but we're also looking at the additional costs, such as potentially software and also opportunity cost as well. So when you start to total this up, you can start to understand, compared to the other candidates, which one is scoring higher in terms of its impact on money to the business. So again, here are some examples that we've put together that would score low or high across these 4 different factors. So when it comes to time drain, so something low could be, again, monthly board pack that takes about 2 hours, whilst an inbox triaging system could take up to 50 hours a week across the team. When it comes to risk exposure, so low would be like an internal memo or internal newsletter that might have some typos or some grammatical errors, but is not a massive impact or any risk there. whilst a compliance report that can, if it's published and there's some incorrect things or some confidential information that it's published, can have huge reputational damage or potential fines as well. And that would score higher when it comes to risk. Then we look at impact on scale. So one example is, office stationery ordering that doesn't really impact the business's opportunity to grow, compared to client onboarding. There's a client onboarding bottleneck. So that could, if you have like 10 new customers a week, and then it goes up to 20, that could have a massive impact on scale if the processes are not streamlined. And then money, you could have a process in which is taking 20 hours a week, but the hourly rate could be £10 an hour, compared to senior reports where the labor is a lot higher, plus the tools that the particular senior staff member is using are quite expensive tools. So that value, although their time might be less, in terms of the cost of the individual could be a lot higher. So when you total that up, you can see all that scores quite high. Now, an example here, which is quite interesting. So if I scroll down to the example company, here you can see, so if I just remove this one here, so this is just the example process. So here we have engagement letters on the RIPE scorecard scored high. So if we go to scoring them on trim, you can see the engagement letter actually scored low when it came to quantifying its impact. So when it came to time drain, it was medium. When it came to risk exposure, it was low. When it came to impact on growth, it was low. And when totaling up, the actual cost is quite low as well, compared to client onboarding, which scored high across the board. So client onboarding here was 2 when it came to the RIPE framework, and it's number 1 here. So you already can start to see, when you quantify the value and the impact on the business on these processes, you can start to see the winners when it comes to the opportunity assessment show itself by scoring them on these 2 different frameworks. So this is the direction we take and the process we have when it comes to identifying or spotting opportunities for AI and automation, and then helping you quantify the value. So once you have your list of candidates that are put onto a shortlist and ranked against the trim framework, you can then take the top 3. So what we typically do, we take the top 3 and then we put them into a financial model to support your decision making on the understanding of what the potential ROI could be. So if I show you an example here, so if I say access your spreadsheet, so what we do, we walk with the organization step by step into putting that information into this spreadsheet. So what we start with is putting the 3 processes, the top 3 processes on trim, and then we start to look at a few key inputs to help come up with 1, the annual saving, 2, the ROI, and 3, how long it would take to get the payback on the particular process. So for here, for example, client onboarding, the frequency is 5 times per week. So you can here have, is it per month or per year? Signed accounts and data extraction, 10 times per week. Accounts approval minutes, 10 times per week. And then that will automatically calculate the annual occurrence. And then you look at, okay, the input for how long it takes per occurrence. So for 1 client onboarding, it takes about 720 minutes compared to signed accounts data extraction takes 18 minutes, and accounts approval is 24 minutes. And then the organization can estimate the potential saving. We work with them with potential ideas of and experiences we've had with other organizations on what percentage of savings that they could potentially have with this process when it comes to using AI or automation. So we always say between 70 to 90% is a good benchmark to consider when you're building a solution with AI. And then this is all calculated automatically. We ask the organization to put in there the hourly rate of the person or the people involved in this process, and then it will automatically give you the savings calculation. So here you can see again, a clear winner is the client onboarding, where there is the potential of close to 100K in savings just on this 1 process. And then on the second tab that's automatically created is basically a high-level summary of the business impact that this process could have if it was to be solved with AI and automation, or the three processes here. So you can see all three processes are automatically added. Total annual saving here is about 100 plus K. And then the investment, so let's say the investment here would be 35,000. And this is something that when we're walking through this with organizations, through our experience, we understand what the build cost could be for these particular processes. And then, when we did this workshop, there was the business productivity grant with about 50% savings on any solution build. So let's say that didn't exist, it would double this summary. So if we just remove that, for example, the payback period without the business productivity grant would be about 17 weeks. And the ROI, I have it here. No, I don't have it here. But the first year net would be 71,000. And then obviously it will be minusing the build cost, 106,000, so 100% on year 2 onwards. So you're looking at over 3 years, about 283,000 in terms of money saved as a result of this particular solution. So this is just a high-level overview of how we walk through taking a business from thinking about how AI can support and their business to actually having a tangible ROI figure on 2 or 3 opportunities where AI can deliver the most amount of value and impact to a business. Once we get to this point, we then would work with an organization to take that 1 or 2 particular processes and work with them on how to actually embed the solution within their organization to basically create that value that we've already quantified through the TRIM framework. So how does this look like? So this is just a very high level walkthrough on how we help organizations build solutions that are embedded and stick and provide the value that the figures have estimated. So the first step is a discovery. So we sit down with the process owners. We go through whether that's in person or through an online meeting. We do a screen share and we understand every single step of the process. And we try to understand the different technology stack that's involved in the process as well. Once we have that, we then design the solution. So we present our way of thinking about how the solution can be embedded into the organization. That goes through some iteration, through conversations and feedback on how to make it even more valuable to the business. And then once that's been approved, we then go into the build. So we get access to the relevant technology that we need or the specific environments that we need to do the build. And once we have the build, I would see this in terms of the entire process, the 4th step, as the most important. So we would work with you to test, do the user testing, and ensure the AI guardrails are there to ensure that everything is as consistent, as reliable, and as accurate as possible. And then the final stage is to embed. So we don't see really any value in providing a solution until the process owners are using it on a day-to-day basis, and it's providing the estimated value as actual real value by the end of it. So the final stage is to train, measure its value, and continually iterate until the particular process owners are using it on a day-to-day basis. It's sticky, it's embedded, and they don't have any need to go back to the old way. And that's how we present and produce the value of AI into a business, is through this 5-step process when it gets to the solution design. So this is just an example of how we did it with one organization that we've worked with over the past few months. So we went and tried to understand. So we had a particular question in mind when we started the discovery: is could an AI assistant take the repetitive work of a specialist team without compromising the quality of what they produce? So in this particular case, they were producing reports based on going into particular service providers and doing inspections. And what we needed to do is work with these specialists, but initially do discovery and understanding their processes, how they did things, what they did, how they did it, and then start to understand about how to map that as a potential solution. So once we did the solution design and we walked into building the solution, we realized there are 5 key workflows that these specialists have that AI could support them in generating consistent value while saving a huge amount of time. So the first, so essentially it's one chatbot that we built as a result that has 5 essential assistants. So they can ask the bot to say, for example, I need to prep for this particular inspection, it will call the assistant 1. Or I need to summarize this particular report into a 1-page summary, it would call assistant 2. Or it needs to look at policies and rules to assess a particular report or a particular inspection to understand does it fulfill this policy or rules, or what are the gaps and how can we improve it. Or let's say they're going to write an inspection, like it's 20-page inspection, they can work with this assistant who is grounded in the knowledge of their business, of their organization, and support them step by step in writing that. So once we built all of these assistants within this one chatbot, the value was very clear once the specialist started testing this particular bot, and through the analysis and the quantifying of the value, it worked out a 6 multiple ROI and a saving of around 122,000 in net value over 3 years. So yeah, this is just an example case of how, going from our 5-step solution design process, we have this particular real world case that we have created this level of value. So that is it on my side. Back over to you, Phil. You are on mute, Phil. We can try to lip sync.
No lip sync needed. No, I'm cool. Yeah, no, thank you very much, Anish. That was really good. So yeah, just to recap on what you've learned over the last 40 minutes. So yeah, Anish showed you through RIPE. So that's how to spot the candidates. So again, to repeat that, if I can remember correctly, it's repetitive, irritating, predictable, and entry friendly. And if you follow that through, then you should get some really good candidates that exist across your organization. And then with that list, then you use trim, time drain, risk exposure, impact on scale, and money. I do have that one on my notes. And that allows you to then look at the sort of golden case opportunities that exist for you. And then Anish walked you through some of the numbers. So looking at calculating the costs associated with the current manual process, and then looking at how much can be saved. So yeah, we tend to see around 70, 80, 60, 80% savings. And then last of all, yeah, looking at some of the solutions that have been built by us or looking at one particular solution that was built by us over the last few months. Brilliant. So yeah, that's what we've looked at today. If you do have any questions, we're coming to those in a little while, so do pop them in the chat. It would be nice to have some questions. But yes, so you've learned all of this, and it's a very quick overview of our sort of framework. But we are looking at running, we are running in September a AI for Profit workshop, which is basically going through this process in much more detail, interactive, with you taking your opportunities, and we're working through them sort of live in the room. So yeah, if you're interested, running it on Tuesday, September the 22nd in the morning for 3 hours. It is going to be limited places. We're looking to have about 5 or 6 businesses in there and 1 or 2 people per business. We don't want to make it any bigger than that because I just don't think it will work, because as I said, it's going to be quite interactive. There's a QR code there, or just email me if you're interested in attending. It's not going to be a guaranteed place, as I said, but we'll put you on a list, and then we'll make sure that we've got the right people in the room. And obviously, we don't want to have competing businesses as well, so we need to think that one through. But yes, it's in a couple of months' time, but do get signed up for that, because I'm sure once we advertise it with Jersey Business and Digital Jersey, the places will go pretty quickly. And it is free as well, I should mention that. So yeah, and the people that we ran it with back in May it was super useful for them, and yeah, a couple of them are looking into doing solutions. Great. Okay, and that QR code is on the final slide, so you can do it again there. And then, yes, our next webinar. So we're having a break in August, so putting our feet up and not doing a webinar, but we are doing one in September. And this is with Rory Forrest of Sindri. So Rory is a local expert who's just started up Sindri, I think maybe 6 months or so. But he's an expert in AI governance for regulated businesses. So looking at safe to scale, how to govern AI so your business can use it with confidence. So looking at things like, what is a workable AI usage policy, how to vet tools so that your team, so that you can get them in place, but know the risks, and then getting clear answers to what happens to your client data when it goes into AI. So working that one out. So if that sounds interesting, again, there's the QR code there, or you can go to llama.ja/webinar, or follow us on Eventbrite, and you'll get notifications of all our forthcoming events. Brilliant. Okay. Well, thank you very much. We now have time for some questions. So if anyone wants to put a question in the chat, have we got any there? No, Tracy's heading off. If you put a question in the chat, or feel free to unmute yourself and ask one in person. Any questions? Well, everyone's gone out for a picnic. We're alone, Anish. They've just left their mics. One thing I will say, one thing that popped up, and I think people might see some of, like, we say, a typical project, we get 7 months payback period, so it pays for itself within 7 months. And I think a lot of people are like, that sounds unrealistic, but that is where we are with AI at the moment, and that kind of return on investment we are seeing time and time again. And the people we work with, they do one project with us and they come back and tend to do another and another, because it's return on investment which wasn't possible 2 or 3 years or 1 year ago, really. Just to put that there. So we got a question there from Joanne. Do you come into offices prior to quoting? Yes, we can do. Yeah, sometimes we come into the office. Sometimes we do it online. We'd like to do things online. Anish isn't based in Jersey. He sometimes comes across here, so we'd like to do things online. And then the good thing with that is we can do screen recording. So when you're sharing what you do, walking through the process, we can record that so that we can then go back and analyze it in detail. But absolutely, first meeting tends to be in person, and then the discovery sessions over that, and there could be quite a few of them, we tend to do online. It just makes it easier for everyone. Hopefully that answers your question there, Joanne. Sue, is it okay to use Claude? I hear it is US based, so our data would be going to the US. Anish, go on. You're probably better suited to answer that one.
Yeah, so it depends. So if you're using Anthropic Claude and you're using it from their kind of software or their application on the web, the answer is you're right. It's Claude in the US, it's Anthropic in the US. However, if you're using Microsoft and you have your tenant, and your tenant is based in Jersey or let's say in the UK, and let's say we're building an application that has AI in it, we can have it hosted on your tenant, which will be hosted in the UK. That is something that Microsoft has enabled. So it's safe for businesses operating outside the US using Claude within their tenant, which is hosted in their particular country. So hopefully that answers your question. So yes, use Claude, but within the Microsoft stack.
So don't use Claude through their own application. Use it through Copilot.
Yeah, and Copilot you can switch between ChatGPT and Claude, their particular models. So yeah, that makes sense. Perfect.
Yeah. Okay. And when we do solutions as well, we would be using it through your tenant by the API, not through not direct to the US. and that's one of the big reasons why we've kind of switched to Microsoft, because if you're a regulated business or any business, data, keeping your data private and safe is super important. And within the Microsoft stack, they have this ability to keep that data within your tenant, so you can share client information and all that kind of stuff. It stays as secure as it would be within your email or SharePoint or spreadsheets. Fantastic. Okay. Any other questions? Oh, yeah. Go on, Joanne.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
I just thought I'm typing away, and actually it might be easier to ask the question. That's okay. And do you know what? I might even be scary and put my my camera on.
There you.
Hello. So what would the next steps be? So say we've been looking through your RIPE and looking through the office and what's suitable to go forward. What would the next steps be? Would we sort of identify them prior to reaching out, or would we reach out and then you come in to speak to us?
So yeah, I mean, what could be a good thing to do? So before we do the workshop, is we ask you to kind of identify just a list of what you think. You ask around the office and find out what processes could be candidates, and then on the workshop we could take you through that whole process, and then we would have some sort of use case, the first kind of opportunity that we think you've agreed is the one to move forward with, and then yes, it would be a matter of us digging into that process, how that process works as is, like the manual process. So we'd sit with the process owner or owners, work out what they do day to day, where do they take the information from, what systems do they use, what's the outcome that they want, or map that all through. And then you need to look into which systems you're using. So you might be using some old software which doesn't have an API, and that's tricky. Maybe we can extract that information from a CSV or something. So we need to look into all those possibilities and then map out a new process, a new streamlined process, and where AI fits into that. And then once we tend to, from our perspective, we would tend to do like a bit of paid discovery, maybe a day or two if it's one particular situation, one particular process that you look at. And then from that we would present to you our solution, return on investment, and the cost that it would be to implement that.
And what's your sort of time scale to start and take in the work if we
You're keen.
AI's going to take over the world. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean,
let's get in now.
Yeah, there's a few. We've got a few opportunity assessments lined up at the moment, but it really depends on the case.
Complex,
and if you identify quite simple.
Could you share a little bit about your business and the size and what you're thinking?
Yeah, so we're quite a small business. We're structural engineers. I actually know Phil. He doesn't know me, but I know your dog.
Oh, your friend of Autumn's.
Friend of Autumn's. Cooper's actually sitting by my desk somewhere. So I've seen you around. So we're structural engineers. We're actually, so not probably too far from you, Phil, because we're based in Beaumont.
Okay, yeah.
And so we've got a lot of things that can be quite repetitive and fit your right sort of thing. But then there are some things that we need to be exact on. But a lot of the senior staff time could be helped by going into helping with reports and things like that. So sort of like finesse behind that. My biggest thing is my emails. My inbox is horrendous, and filing that information, that takes a lot of time, and that really is very infuriating for me, especially if you've let it go for a while and having them organized so other people can see them. So that's something that's really high on our list. But I'm a bit mindful of what's going on in the background, so people don't need to hear my words. But it's something that we'd certainly be interested in looking at. There are a few things that I've written down, but as structural engineers, we've got to be very careful on what we feed into AI, because we've obviously got to overlook that information and also the data, etc. But we can't get away from the fact that we are the experts in our field. So, but there are things that can be done to make our lives a little bit easier. And it's certainly something worth considering. A colleague of mine was supposed to join on, but unfortunately he didn't sign up for a ticket. So, but we'll try and sort things out. So what I think that I've got an idea of, get our list together, reach out to you, come to that workshop if there's spaces available. With my correct name, by the way, this is my previous married name. So I'm not Joanne Thomas, I'm Joanne Johnson. Come to your workshop and then go from there. But you're talking, you know, you do have time, but you're not, you know, I'm not expecting an answer and something delivered within a couple of weeks. I know this takes a lot of processing of the expert of writing these things and stuff like that. But if the reason I asked the question, if it's going to take like you a year to do, then you know, that's something different. So it was more of sort of like, is it going to be a couple of months? Is it going to be like 6 months, a year? That sort of thing.
It depends on the scale, but certainly, yeah, we've all 2 months are probably a normal turnaround. But yeah,
it's the same as us. Then we allow sort of 8 weeks on a project, depending on the project.
Yeah.
So that's good. Just good to know.
Yeah. No, happy to dig into that. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say if there seems to be a higher need, that instead of waiting for the workshop or being on the workshop, but maybe having an initial conversation and go a little bit deeper dive into the organization and the processes would be quite useful, just to support you with that list, rather than you jumping into the list yourself. We can actually just give you some bit more specific tips around the list. So yeah, could do that.
Yeah, the workshop's not for another couple of months.
2 months.
It is August though, and you'd be surprised. August next week, and you'd be surprised how quick it is until September and leave, etc. So but no, it's definitely something that we are interested in, but I just wanted to know what the next steps are. Well, we've got your email address. I've just emailed you, Phil, about asking for the workshop, but in the meantime, perhaps we can touch base, or if I see you walk in autumn, organize a meeting.
So you're Beaumont Structural Engineers, is that right?
Yes, that's right. Yeah,
I walk past most days. So yeah.
Pop in and meet Robbie, who's the other director here. So no, it would definitely be worthwhile. And sorry for doing the voice in the video. It's just it gives you guys a break.
Yeah,
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Brilliant. That's great. Any other questions? If we've maybe got time for one more question. No?
There was one question actually. I think it was Sue de Gruchy. Is the initial assessment meeting free or chargeable?
Oh, sorry, yeah. The initial assessment meeting, yeah, always like an official, the first meeting to discuss things, absolutely. There's no problem in that. There's the opportunities assessment, which we talked about, which is kind of diving quite deep into the business. So that is normally chargeable. It really does depend, but we normally charge around £3,000 for that. But that is quite detailed, and we have multiple meetings with process owners to dig into stuff. So more than happy to have an initial chat. We absolutely do that to work out, what opportunities, what possible opportunities there are before digging kind of deeper into those opportunities. Thanks for that, Anish. I missed that one.
No worries. Yeah, and I would just add, as a result of more the deep dive discovery, we typically provide a roadmap as an outcome, not only just the golden case or the financial case for the right opportunities to focus on, but we provide a kind of a roadmap of solutions as a result of that more deeper dive assessment.
Absolutely, yeah. And those might not be kind of technical solutions necessary. It could be like education needs, and it might be working with your team that might have some understanding of AI already, but working with them to give them the skills to be able to provide solutions themselves. So yeah, lots of different avenues to take. Perfect. Okay, 4 extra minutes to go down the park very quickly. And get some sunshine. Brilliant. Thank you very much, everyone. So yes, next webinar is in September, and then we do have the workshop. So yeah, there is the QR code for that, or just drop me or Anish an email, and we'll try and reserve you a place on the workshop for September. Magic. Thank you very much, and have a great
Thank you, everybody.
spring. Cheers.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye, guys.